Let's talk about something that so many of us have been through. You go into a meeting with your child's school. You lay out a serious problem, and they make all the right promises. You walk out feeling like, finally, something's going to happen. But then, crickets. And worse, when you follow up, suddenly nobody seems to remember that conversation the same way you do. Well, this explainer is all about how to escape that he said, she said trap for good.
So you're in the meeting, and you hear something exactly like this. It sounds amazing, right? A clear promise, a solid deadline. It feels like a real commitment to fix a serious issue, and you take them at their word. You feel a sense of relief.
And then, boom, this happens. Your crystal clear memory of what was promised just slams into a wall of, I don't really remember it that way. Without any proof, your very real concern gets written off as a simple misunderstanding. And just like that, you're right back at square one, feeling frustrated and powerless.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How do you stop this from happening? How do you take a spoken promise, something that can just vanish into thin air, and turn it into solid, undeniable proof that can't be ignored or forgotten? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
To really see just how critical this is, let's walk through a little story. A tale of two parents. They go to the exact same meeting, hear the exact same promises, but their stories have completely different endings, all because one of them took one simple strategic step that the other didn't.
So, first up, we have parent A. They do what most of us would do. They go to the meeting, they get a lot of sympathetic nods, and a whole list of verbal promises. And they leave feeling hopeful, trusting that the school is on it. This is the default path.
And here's the heartbreaking outcome. When nothing happens and parent A follows up, the school just claims it was all a misunderstanding. With absolutely zero written proof, their very real problem is dismissed. It's just their word against an institution's. Game over.
But now let's look at parent B. Same meeting, same promises, same everything. But parent B does one thing differently. They don't just go home and hope for the best. Within 2 hours of that meeting ending, they take a very specific, very strategic action. And look at the difference. It's night and day, isn't it? Parent A is left with nothing. Parent B, on the other hand, has locked in solid evidence. That one single action completely flipped the script and changed the entire outcome.
So what was this secret weapon that parent B used? It's a strategy, a protocol really, that we call the 24-hour evidence rule. It's a beautifully simple but incredibly powerful way to turn those fleeting spoken words into concrete, undeniable proof.
And the tool at the heart of this rule is the post-meeting email. Now, this is not just a polite little thank you note. No, this is a strategic weapon. Its whole purpose is to create a written summary of the meeting that forces the school to do one of two things. Either agree with your summary in writing or correct it in writing. Either way, you win.
And this right here, this is the magic number. You have to get this email sent within 24 hours of that meeting. Why? Because time is absolutely everything. It's the key to making this strategy work.
Think of it like this, what I call the credibility clock. If you send that email within the first 4 hours, that's the sweet spot. Optimal. It has the highest credibility because the meeting is fresh in everyone's mind. Between 4 and 24 hours, still really strong. Great evidence. But once you start pushing past 48 hours, see how deniability starts creeping in? It becomes much easier for them to say, well, that's not how I remember it. Speed is your best friend here.
So why is this so ridiculously effective? Well, for a few reasons. First, it creates a time-stamped record. It's proof. But here's the big one. It shifts the burden of proof. It's no longer on you to prove what was said. It's now on them to dispute your written account. This single-handedly shuts down gaslighting and prevents them from claiming it was all a big misunderstanding.
Okay, so you get the why, you understand the strategy. Now for the fun part, the how. We're going to give you the exact 6-part blueprint for writing an email that is an absolutely ironclad piece of evidence. Here they are. Think of this as your recipe for success. You need all 6 ingredients. First, identify the meeting. Second, recap your concern. Third, you list what they acknowledged. Fourth, you nail down their commitments. Fifth, you state your requests. And sixth, the knockout punch, you request their confirmation. You can't skip a single.
All right, element 1, meeting ID. This sounds basic, but it's non-negotiable. You start the email by stating the date, the time, and who was in the room. Why? Because it makes it totally impossible for anyone to ever deny that the meeting even happened. You've just locked it in stone.
Next, element 2, the incident recap. You're doing more than just retelling the story here.
You're creating a formal record that proves the school was put on what's called legal notice. You're documenting the specific facts you told them, which is critical if you ever need to escalate things. Then you move to the third element, their acknowledgments. This is where you write down anything they agreed with, like, as we discussed, you acknowledge that this behavior is unacceptable and violates school policy. This stops them from backpedaling later.
Now for element 4, and this is huge, the school's commitments. This is where you turn their vague chatter into concrete action items. You list out exactly what they promised to do, with names and deadlines. We'll look into it becomes, Principal Smith committed to creating a written safety plan and delivering it to me by this Friday, October 26th. See, it's specific and it's enforceable. Then comes element 5, your requests. This is where you formally state what you want, like, I am requesting a copy of that safety plan by the agreed-upon deadline.
And finally, we have element 6, the absolute masterstroke, the confirmation request. You end the email with a simple, polite line that forces them to engage. You say something like, please review this summary and let me know by the end of tomorrow if there are any inaccuracies. If I don't hear from you, I will assume this summary is accurate. It's a brilliant move that puts them in a checkmate position.
So, you've sent this perfectly constructed email. It's out there. Now what? What happens next? Let's talk about how the school might respond, and more importantly, why every possible outcome actually ends up creating evidence for you.
When it comes right down to it, there are really only 3 ways they can react to your email. And if you know what these are ahead of time, you'll see that you've already won, no matter what they do.
And this table just lays it out so perfectly. Look at this. Scenario 1. They write back and confirm. Fantastic. You now have a binding written agreement. Scenario 2. They reply to clarify or water something down. That's fine too. You've just forced them to put their commitment, whatever it is, in writing. And scenario 3, the most common one, they say nothing. They stay silent. Perfect. Because of that little sentence you put at the end, their silence is now documented as agreement. You see, every single road leads to you getting evidence.
And that is the whole point. This isn't about being confrontational. It's about being clear. This process completely flips the power dynamic. The burden of proof is no longer on you to try and prove a memory. It's on them to dispute your immediate, time-stamped, written record of events.
Because it all boils down to this one simple, powerful rule. When it comes to accountability, you have to remember this mantra. If it is not in writing, it did not happen. So the only question left is, what are you going to put in writing after your next meeting?